नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम ज्ञातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन्वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। I am so happy to see many of you who want to be humans. Because today the subject is being human. At last, few people in this world, or some of us, or many of us, or rather all of us, started thinking, let us become humans now. It is enough. That itself is a proof that we are not living like humans. That is why these days this being human has been propagated very profusely. Wherever you go, people talk about being human. That itself is a fact. It shows that though we are born as humans, we never thought of being human. It is very interesting to see. A dog never thinks, I should be a dog. It never thinks of being dog because it is born as a dog and lives like a dog. A cat never thinks of being a cat because it is born as a cat and lives like a cat. Same goes with the donkey also. The donkey never thinks of being a cat or a dog. It behaves according to the instincts. Whatever is the birth, according to the birth, the animals conduct their life. But it is a human where we have the choice. I still remember, as soon as I got this topic of speaking on being human, I remembered my mother. Every other day, she used to tell me, you are a donkey, gada. It is quite natural, especially if you are born in South Indian, especially South Indian mothers are very, very critical about their children. They want their child to be first in the class always. If they get just little bit about 99%, 1% less than 100, they will say that you are a donkey. what is there in your head? Gobar bara hai kya? So now, when the mother told me I'm a donkey, I used to wonder, why is she telling me a donkey? I got 2 hands and 2 legs. I asked her one day, every other day you say that I'm a donkey. You are a human. Why did you give birth to a donkey then? She became more angry and told me you have become crooked. Then I thought I should not make her angry anymore, and I just left. But I used to wonder, because I was a very straightforward person. I used to take the meaning of the words in a very simple way. Then later on one day she explained me why I am telling you are a donkey, because you are a fool. A donkey is foolish and you are acting foolish, so I am telling you that you are a donkey. And I forgot about that thing many years. After many, many years, when I joined the college, at that time I got in touch with ISKCON. Few devotees gave me a book. And then that devotee was talking about being human. The first connection with ISKCON was through a devotee who spoke to me that we have got this human form of life. We should not live like animals. We should not live like a donkey. Then I remembered my mother. Then it stuck to me that, are you telling me that I am a donkey? My mother also used to tell me that I am a donkey. So then this devotee, he explained to me a very, very important feature which I cannot forget even till today. Because the first connection with some very interesting subject matter will never be forgotten throughout our life. He explained to me 2 similar words, but they are not similar. In Sanskrit, there are 2 words called kriti, and other one is akriti. Kriti means activity. In Sanskrit, kriti means activity. Kritya means activities. These are the activities, these are the kritis. And akriti means, you know very well, it is form or shape, isn't it? He told that there is something called kriti and something called akriti. Now a donkey has got 4 legs. Its akriti is like a donkey, and its kriti is also like a donkey. A cat also has a kriti, has an akriti, that is a form. A cat has a particular form. It acts like a cat. A tiger or a lion. You take any animal in this world. As is their form, so is their actions. So are their actions. Whereas the speciality with the human form is very unique. Though the kriti, though the akriti or the form may be human, that this human form has a speciality, but it can do the function of all the animals. That itself is a very great speciality. It is so wonderful that being born as a human, you can behave like a dog, you can behave like a monkey, like very small children. What do their mothers call their children? Bandar. Isn't it? Just imagine a mother monkey would not tell a small monkey, you are a bandar. It just does not discriminate. It's natural. So we find there is some speciality in this human form. After being born as human, though we have the akriti of a human, still we can perform the activities of any of these different forms of life. For that we should know what are the different forms of life. In the Vedic literatures, there is a very scientific information about different species of life. Let me use the word species instead of forms. Technically they are known as yonis. There are 84 lakh varieties. 84 lakh varieties of species in our zoology or in our science, biosciences. In our botany, you must have studied. There are different species of animals. And there's classification, chordates, non-chordates, porifera, coelenterata, and whatnot. I don't remember those names. And you have in botany also, you have so many different classifications. But the Vedic classification is very, very intricate. The Padma Purana especially talks about this Vedic classification of different species. It talks about Jalaja Navalakshani. There are 9 lakh species which are born in water. Jalaja means, Ja means birth, Jala means water. The living entities which are born in water are 9 lakh variety. Stavaraha Lakshvimshati. Plants and creepers, they are Lakshvimshati, there are 20 lakh variety of them. Whereas the modern botanists, they could only find out 75,000 varieties of plants and creepers and trees. But the Vedic literature talks about 20 lakh varieties of them. Just imagine if each of them have a botanical name, 20 lakh botanical names, even the computer would not be able to remember. Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavaraha Lakshvimshati, 20 lakh varieties of plants. Krimikaha Rudrasankikaha. 11 lakh varieties of insects. You just see this world, if you especially go to the forest or some garden during the rainy season, you find insects. The varieties of insects are so wonderful, especially the colors of different insects. You just cannot even imagine how beautiful are these insects even. What to speak of higher forms of life. Creation is Adbhuta, Vichitra. One of the great acharyas says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Tua Jagat, this world is full of Vichitra. Vichitra means it is strange, at the same time it also means Vishesh Rupena Chitra is specifically or specially beautiful. Just imagine, insects are 11 lakh varieties. If you go to the best of the restaurants, how many varieties of dosas you can get? Maybe 50, 60, maximum 100. Isn't it? How many varieties of foodstuffs you can get? Not much. You can go up to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, maximum a lakh. But insects, there are 11 lakh varieties. Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavar Lakshvimshati, and 11 lakh varieties of insects. And then you have 30 lakh varieties of quadrupeds, means 4-legged animals. And 10 lakh varieties of birds. And 4 lakh varieties of humans. So all put together it becomes 84 lakh varieties of species in this created material world. Among these 84 lakh varieties, the speciality with these 4 lakhs. So just you cannot count humans are all of same category. There are different levels in humans also. And you may find, how is this classification done? The classification is done based on one's development in consciousness. The word consciousness may be very too complicated for you at present to understand. Let me use this word thinking, because the thinking is external manifestation of one's consciousness. And based on one's consciousness, one thinks. Based on one's thought, a person does actions. So let us simplify this word thinking. So it is a thinking which is the distinctive feature between a human and an animal. If you go to somebody's house and press the calling bell, or enter somebody's house, as soon as a dog in the house sees you, it starts barking. But the owner of the house, if he is not known to you, he doesn't start barking. He first asks you, who are you? Thinks. So that is a distinction between a human and animal, because a human, he thinks. He has a rational, He has the capacity to think between right and wrong, good and bad, profitable, non-profitable. He has the capacity to discriminate, the intelligence. Intelligence is actually the capacity within us to discriminate between good and bad, right, wrong, practical, impractical, so many different classifications you can have. But the intelligence is a thing which actually makes us a human. When you have this intelligence, human intelligence, that is where, and when you act on that human intelligence, that is where human life starts. Human life starts when we use that intelligence. The discriminating capacity. By using this discriminating capacity, you would like to get knowledge, inquire. The most intelligent students are those who inquire. Inquiry is a symptom of intelligence. And that is where human life starts. Just having akriti doesn't make us a human. Just somebody is a form as a human being. Being born as a human doesn't make us a human, as much as just being born in a doctor's family doesn't make us a doctor. Just being born as a human doesn't make us human. That is why this being human, or people are starting thinking of being human, that itself is the definition of being human. At least we have realized that I am a human now. I am no more an animal. I am no more a donkey. I am no more a monkey. I am no more any of these 80 lakh species. I have got a very special form now. A very unique form, which has got very, very high grade intelligence. Now I have to use that. Somebody told me how to get that intelligence, how to get that consciousness to be spiritual. I told you already have it. We are not using it. The very fact that you are born as a human, that shows that you have the capacity, that we have the capacity to solve the problems of life. But in spite of having this high-class intelligence, having this capacity to solve the problems of life, what are we doing? We are using it for lower purposes. That is where is the problem. A friend on your birthday gives you a nice, wonderful pen, a golden pen. And you use this golden pen, you take it, and you have some itching sensation of your head, you start scratching your head. How does your friend feel? Very bad about it. You can use the golden pen to scratch your head, but that is not the purpose of the golden pen. In the same way, this human form of life is such a precious life, such an important life, such a great life, great thing, invaluable thing we have got. Though it can be used for lower purposes, it should not be used. It should be used for the purpose for which it is given for. So being human starts by thinking in this direction. The unfortunate situation these days is, in spite of having the human birth, we are using this high-class human birth for lower purposes. For the purposes of a monkey would achieve. I went to one of our life members' house recently. And there I was just waiting to meet him. I was made to sit in the hall. There, maybe his daughter, I suppose, she was watching TV and she was hardly bothered about my presence. And she went on watching TV. In the TV, there was some games going on, especially the gymnastics was going on. Then somehow I had to talk to her saying that, why didn't you call your father? I'm waiting for a long time. Then she told, I'm watching, I cannot go inside. And she'll come. She's a little bit arrogant because her mother is a little bit more religious and father is also religious, but she was very much against being coming to temple and all. She did not like Hare Krishnas and all. So then I asked her, you are watching, what are you watching? And she told, I'm watching gymnastics. And do you know something about gymnastics? And she told, yes. She started explaining different things. These are floor exercises and that and this and all. I just told her that so much of competition is going on. They must have practiced a lot, isn't it? Yes, they practice a lot. Right from the age of 5, they are put into this thing, and she started explaining about gymnastics so much about to me. Then I told, can they compete with a monkey? Suppose, let this gymnastic competition be open for all species. Olympics for all species. Why only for humans? Allow the monkeys also to participate. Then who will get the gold medal? A Romanian monkey or Indian monkey? Indians don't get into gymnastics. But I definitely told, monkeys from Vrindavan, they are better. So just imagine being born as a human. We are trying to do what a monkey can do better. In spite of trying our best to imitate a monkey, we cannot compete with a monkey. That itself is a proof that our life is not meant for that. I'm just giving you an example. You have the running race competition. Just imagine there's so many animals which can run faster. I'm not discouraging somebody doing exercises, discouraging somebody doing running, but that is not the goal of life. But just imagine, people put so much of effort into that, they think this is the goal of life. I need to do what a monkey does. I need to do what the dog does. That has become the goal of life. Though the human body can be used for lower purposes, but the human body has a higher goal. And that is where being human starts. When we start thinking, what is the goal of my life? If you go and ask a dog, what is the goal of life? What will the dog do? It will bark at you. It says, to get a piece of bread, that is the goal of my life. If some other dog comes near me to take it away, I want to chase the dog out. That is the goal of my life. If I find a bitch, I want to have sex with that bitch. That is the goal of my life. And if I get a place to sleep, I'll go and sleep. That is the goal of my life. So these 4 things. Ahara nidra bhayametunam cha samanyametat pashubir naranam dharmo hi kodiko vichesho dharmena vihina pashubir samanaha. These 4 things are common for both humans and animals. Ahara means eating. The dogs also eat, we also eat, animals also eat, we also eat. Ahara, nidra, sleeping. The animals are also sleeping and we are also sleeping. By security, we also have security by having army, by having banks, and so many different security from weather. We have our buildings to secure ourselves from weather conditions. Even the animals, they also have a feeling of security that I want to protect my children, I want to be protected myself. Ahara vidra bhayametunam cha. Family life animals also have, and we also have. Samanya metat. Samanya means both are common. But what is the distinctive feature of being a human? The distinctive feature of being a human is that though these four things are found in the human life also, these four things don't become the goal of human life. But the unfortunate situation is that we have made these four things a goal of our life. Eating. Where will I eat and what will I eat? 24 hours people are thinking about that. Mating. Whom should I get married to? Whom should I not get married to? 24 hours somebody is just thinking about that. Defending. How can I become more secure in my life? I want a more secure job. I want to keep this much of bank balance so that I can become more secure. Where should I do my investment so that it can be secure? Eating, sleeping facility. Where can I buy a flat and then stay? Best conditions for my sleeping arrangement. So these four things have become the goal of life. That is where is the problem. Executing these four things as a secondary purpose, there is nothing wrong in that. But when these four things become the goal, that is the problem. That is where, in spite of having a human form, we are not humans. Being human starts with a thought. What is a thought? Athato Brahma Jigyasa. What is the goal of my life? And what is the cause of suffering? When the inquiry is there into higher realms of existence, that is the time when we can call ourselves as humans. When we recognize that, yes, I have a human body, that means I have a superior intelligence. So with that intelligence, what I should do? Inquire. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The first aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutras, it's a very complicated book written by Vyasa. Taking the essence of all the Vedic literatures, he has compiled one scripture called Vedanta Sutras. The entire Vedic knowledge presented in some sutra. Sutra means like formula. The first aphorism in the Vedanta Sutra says, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Atha means now. Now means what? Now you don't have four legs. You have 2 legs and 2 hands. And you don't have a tail. That is why you are able to read. That's how the explanation goes. The very fact that you are able to read Athato Brahma Jigyasa or A, B, C, D or whatever the language you may study, that itself is a fact that you are not having 4 legs and a tail. That shows Atha means now you are a human. Since you are a human, therefore, the second Atha refers to therefore, what we are supposed to do? Jigyasa. Jigyasa means inquire. Inquiry is a fundamental principle of human life. But not inquiry into where I can have better food, where I can have better mating facility, where I can have better sleeping facility, where I can have better security. These 4 things are meant for animals. Animals also do inquire. A dog inquires, so where will I get a chapati? Tell me. Or where will I get this thing? What will I... Whole of their inquiry and consciousness is just into these four things. But being human means we start thinking something higher than these four things. Yes, I want to know. Brahma Jigyasa. You may be atheist. You may be a theist. You may be anybody, but inquire. Inquire where? That is the question. That is why the second aphorism, he says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa Shastrayonitvat. Shastrayonitvat means inquire into the scriptures. And why we should inquire into the scriptures? Because Shuteshu Shabdhamulatvat. Because they are the only perfect source of knowledge. If you give a Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture to any animal, they would not be able to read them. They would not be able to understand them. Even animals, they also have the knowledge, but this knowledge is pertaining to how to live in this world. A crow can build a nest. You bring any of the best of the civil engineers, the structural engineers, can they build a crow's nest? Impossible. They cannot even make a design in their computer about a crow's nest. Impossible. How to live in this world, the animals know better. How to make them secure, the animals know better. By birth they know it. When tsunami came, not a single dog died. They have better intelligence. They have the intuitive potency to see that tsunami is going to come. In spite of all our advanced technology, we could not find it out. There is an inbuilt machine within them. That itself shows that the human form of life is specifically designed for inquiry. Inquiry where? Into the scriptures. Why? Because they are the perfect source of knowledge. Now you may say that I would like to inquire into the scriptures, but there are so many. What should I do? That is why Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he summarized the entire scriptures, all the Vedic literatures, all the Upanishads. He presented in one book called Bhagavad Gita and gave it to Arjuna. So, we'll just talk something on Bhagavad Gita and see the condition of Arjuna, how he presented himself as a perfect human. As an ordinary person, he presented himself as an ordinary person, but still he was perfect. How? Let us see. Arjuna went to the war. Krishna was driving his chariot. And Arjuna was very confident. I can win the war, I'll do that. He told Krishna, take this chariot between the two armies. Then Krishna drove the chariot. And then between the two armies, the Pandavas were there, the Kauravas were there. And in the middle of the two armies, Krishna took the chariot and told Arjuna, Pashaitan Kuruniti, see all these who are all come here to fight with you. As soon as Arjuna saw all those people who came to fight with him, he became very nervous. And he started giving many reasons why he is not going to fight. First he told, oh, how can I fight with my own relatives? How can I kill my own grandfather, my own teacher, my own brother? That is the beginning of human life. Though Arjuna was crying, he was actually in ignorance, but still he manifested one quality. You know what is that quality? Compassion. And then he started arguing and telling telling to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, if I fight and then kill my brothers, I'll be afflicted by sin." This is another quality which Arjuna had. Though Arjuna was ignorant, he manifested certain qualities. Kindness, fear of sinful reactions, understanding that there is some higher controller who is actually controlling all my activities, seeing all my activities. Nowadays, nobody is bothered. Their concept is just do it. And later on when suffering comes, "Oh God, why are you giving?" But when you just did it, you did not think about God. When suffering came, God gave. When God gave you intelligence, why you did not use that? And then Arjuna started inquiring, telling Krishna, "Oh Krishna, I will not fight with them. I just want to go bhiksham piyal, okay, let me just go and beg." He was in total depression, but at the same time he manifested human qualities. He told, "I will be the responsible person for the entire war. Because of this war, there will be people in this world will be killed, and the women will not be protected. There will be a lot of social disturbance in this entire society, and there will be a hellish condition in the society. I will be responsible for it, so I don't want to be a part of this war." Ultimately he told, "I am confused." There, in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, he says, such a kind-hearted person like Arjuna is fit to receive self-knowledge. That means Arjuna manifested the symptoms of being human, and ultimately Arjuna inquired from Krishna, "Yashreha syan nishchitam bruhitan me." I want to know what is good for me. We are all in the position of Arjuna. We don't have to do much. Consider yourself to be Arjuna. Oneself to be Arjuna. And then put yourself in this position. Develop these divine qualities of kindness, compassion, and freedom from all kinds of attachment. In that mood, when somebody inquires, yes, what is beneficial for me? What is absolute truth? And that is where human life actually starts. Just these days, being human is being professed so many places. Many of the youth, they are very much into being human. But that is 50%. 100% happens only when not only charity, kindness, and some kind of good qualities are there. Along with that, there is a quality added to it that is called inquiry. Inquiry to the absolute truth. Otherwise, we are 50% humans. When I was asked to speak about this being human, I asked a couple of boys, what is this being human? Somebody told me it's being very much popular these days. Then they spoke to me about an organization set up by a superstar who is into being human. I told them, at last, we started thinking. Then I told what they do exactly. Then they explained about different things, activities which they do, primarily into underprivileged, giving education for them, medical care for the underprivileged, and so many different things they were talking about it. Then I told, okay, Do they talk about inquiring about the absolute truth? No. Okay, manifesting good qualities is very good. Somebody is underprivileged, having some kindness, doing some charity, that is good. But that is only 50% human. 100% human can only happen when somebody does the same thing what Arjuna did. What he did? He inquired. In spite of Arjuna having all the kindness within his heart, still he inquired from Krishna. That is why the Vedic literature says, inquire. Then only you can be human. Inquire into the higher realms of existence. We have been given that intelligence. We have given the facility for inquiring in the scriptures. Our human brain has such a capacity of inquiry. As soon as a child is born, what does he do? He starts a rhyme. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. That is what's taught. So inquiry. Adhato brahma jigyasa. Tad vijigyasa swad. Hito yaimani bhutani yana jatani jivanti. Yat pralyant abhisham vishanti. Tad brahma tad vijigyasa swad. All the scriptures, they talk about this one very, very important quality. Inquire. Whatever question comes to your mind, inquire. When you inquire from the scriptures, from the proper source, then you can say that yes, I have 2 legs and 2 hands. Not only just the akriti, but also my kriti is also human. So since I spoke so much about inquiry, I would like you to be human now. Inquire.